Welcome again to another installment of Life, Laughter, and Legacy with Roger Young. Now, I'm going to tell you about my experience with one of the most delightful hobbies that any man can have, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of women as well, and that is the pleasure of having a boat. Oh, I remember as a little tiny child sitting on my mother's lap, and she read me the book of Curious George. And that little monkey took the newspapers in that story and made all of these paper boats that he floated on the river. And I thought as to myself when I was a little 4-year-old, wow. And I asked my Mom, can you get me some boats? And she went to the little nickel and dime store and she got me some little plastic boats. Even now it brings tears to me eye. Little plastic boats. And I remember sitting in Kenosha, Wisconsin while it was still civilized before the riots. And that's a whole nother story. But when I was a little kid in the 50s, I would sit on the front porch of our little house. And I had a little pan of water and I would play with my little plastic boats. And I would have so much fun. And I'd invite little Sally from across the street, little Sally Staskis, who I've tried to find over the decades later. Have no idea where she is. But I wonder in my heart if she's now on some catamaran or some cruise boat celebrating life and now in her late 60s. Never know. Well, anyway, my love for boats continued into my elementary years. And remember my Uncle Bill Brewer taking my brother and I for a ride in his aluminum boat on Lake Michigan. It was so fun. And I remember another time when my mom and dad took my brother and I on a cruise, a little cruise. I wouldn't say it was like a big cruise ship, but it was maybe a boat of probably about 40 or 50 feet or more. And I remember going for a ride on Lake Superior is what it was. And I thought, wow, someday I'm going to own my own boat. Well, eventually it happened. I remember I was pastoring a church up in the mountains, and there was this guy, he was a welder, and he had this boat. It was about a 16-foot boat. It was fiberglass. It looked pretty rough. In fact, it was rough. But he gave it to me. It was fiberglass, it had an enclosed bow, and it had an inboard, outboard motor. I'll get it out. And I remember he said it ought to run, so I took it out on Bass Lake in California. And it started to run. It got me out about 1,000 feet in that lake, and then it stopped. So I had an oar, and after a couple hours, I managed to get it back to the dock. And I took it to my friend who gave me the boat, and I said, it don't run. He said, let me fix it. And he discovered there was a crack in the motor. So he fixed it. I couldn't wait till I got it back on Bass Lake. I had my son with me. We was out there and got it out about maybe 500 or 600 feet, and it wouldn't run. So we managed to get back to the dock. And now you have to know that my son is not a fan of boating, particularly with his father. But he was a good boy, made in my image, and I just love my son. And I thought this is a time for a father-son bonding experience. So after that experience where we got stuck in the lake, we managed to get back. So I took it back I took it this time to a boat repair shop. And about $1,000 later, they did all kinds of work. I took it on Bass Lake, and it actually worked. I had my wife with me. We got back in, and I said, man, this is great. So this next time, I thought, okay, now it's time to take my son again. And he had some friends visiting from Kazakhstan. 2 or 3 this pretty littlest gals you've ever seen. Just cute as speckled pops. We got him in that boat, took him out on the lake. And all of a sudden, it didn't run. Oh, it was so frustrating. We got it back into shore, and I told those girls, I said, I'm so sorry. They were college-age gals and looking to have a special time of life in life. Well, they really didn't have too much fun. But anyway, I tried. So I took it back to the repair shop, and the guy said, well, you got to have all this work done. I said, well, what do you want to do? It was the same work he did before. I said, no. Took it to another shop, and they said, well, you got to have this carburetor work done. Spent all that money. Got my son. I said, son, yeah, now it's time. I said, it's going to be glorious. You're going to love it. We're going to get that boat out on Bass Lake, and we're going to bond. So I got him out there with that boat. We got out about half a mile on the lake, and it quit. And he said, Dad, we should ask for help. I said, no. I said, we're not going to ask for help. We'll figure this out. I had my cell phone. And I tried calling someone to come out and help me. And my son said, we don't have to do that. There's people all out on this lake. You don't have to. I turned my back to him and I said, no. I said, we're going to figure this out. So I monkeyed around and I punched in some numbers to have someone come. And what I didn't know was behind me, he was standing up in the boat. He was waving his hands, and he managed to have someone come. And they hauled us to shore. I looked at him with a stern look, and I said, Matt, I am never going to take you boating again. And I thought he would weep glorious tears of repentance. Instead, he looked at me and he said, if only that is the case. Well, I took the boat out again. I had more work done on it. Took the boat out again. This time I was by myself. I thought, this has got to work. I got out there in the lake, and it worked. It actually worked. And I'm working the gears, and after being out there for a little while, I thought, oh, goody, I'm going to take Matt out again, and this time it's going to be great. The only thing is, as I got toward the dock, the boat locked in reverse in full speed. It's about 100 feet from the dock. There are scores of people on the dock at Bass Lake, and they're all watching. I'm going in reverse as fast as it will go. And I'm looking like this, and I go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm working that gear thing, and finally I managed to go, and the whole motor went poof, and there I was, a little bit of smoke. And there I was sitting there. Fortunately, I was close enough. Someone helped bring me in to the dock. So I took that boat, loaded it on the trailer, and as I was heading back home, going downhill, that trailer got loose from the back of my pickup and started swerving back and forth. I tell you what, I got saved, sanctified, and baptized in the Holy Spirit 50 times. And that thing was going back and forth. I was praying. I was speaking in tongues. I was doing everything, saying, God, help me. And you know what? So as I'm coming down the hill and I gradually hit the brakes, that trailer with the boat on it went boom, back into it. The trailer collapsed. All the supports went flat. So I called my buddy Bob, and I said, Bob, I need help. He came, and He was a guy in the church, good old Bob and LaVonda. Bob came and we nursed that trailer back onto the trailer hitch and took it to his house. And I had an idea. I knew what I was going to do. I was going to look underneath that boat and see if it was damaged. So I convinced Bob to take he had a lift, type of cranky lift. And we put straps underneath that boat, threw a big old rope to the lift over a tree branch out back of his house. That boat probably weighed, I don't know, at least half a ton, more than that, probably weighed close to a ton. It was heavy fiberglass, heavy motor, and an 8-cylinder motor in that thing. Well, anyway, we cranked it up as best as we could with that lift. And I said, Bob, I'm going to look underneath here and see if it's all right. I crawled underneath that boat, and I was looking, and I heard him. I don't know what he was doing, but he was getting all fidgety and dancing and carrying on. I said, Bob, what's the matter with you? He said, I think you better come out from there. And I looked underneath. I said, well, it looks good. The thing was probably about 4 feet high. I crawled out from underneath that boat. And you know what? As soon as I got from underneath that boat, what happened? That lift gave way and that boat came down, whop, right on the ground. I thought, ooh, that was close. Well, anyway, I got rid of that boat. Then we moved from the mountains down toward Fresno to a little town called Selma. And I thought, I want a boat. I've got to have a boat. Got rid of that other one. And I already spent probably close to $3,000, never could get it to work right. The thing was, so I pretty much sold it for anything I could get from it. But I found a nice little 10-foot boat. It was sort of a plastic thing. I'm not sure, polyurethane. I don't know, some kind of poly something other. But I thought, I'm going to take this fishing. So I went down to the canals below Selma, south of Selma, and I thought, I'm going to go fish. So I got out there. Now, I was dressed for this event. Now, you got to understand, I weighed at least 100 pounds more than I am right now, and I ain't exactly skinny, folks. So I had my red kerchief. I had a yellow ball cap. I had my red striped shirt. Looked like I was a refugee from a prison. And I had my tattered, torn-up blue jean shorts. They would have made Daisy Dukes cry. I tell you what, I was a sight. So I got in that boat and we went out. Well, not we, but I went out. And went out about a mile or two into the channel. And as I was fishing, I thought, I'm getting achy in this thing, this small boat. So I turned around, I leaned back, I reared back, raised up my foot to do a spin, and all of a sudden that boat slipped out from underneath me like a skateboard. It went whoop up in the air, came down upside down, and there I was. The little trolling motor went down, the battery went down in the water, lost all my fishing gear. My phone was soaking wet, and I thought, what am I going to do? There ain't nobody around me to help me. So I tread water, looked at my phone. It was gone. It was gone. It was gone. So I tread water, and I was quite a ways from the shore. So I managed to get the boat, tread water, and pull it to the shore. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. I tied the boat to a bush upside down, climbed up on the shore, and there was a highway right there. And you got to understand, I'm looking a frightful sight. I'm sopping wet. My cap is kilter. I had a red kerchief, red striped shirt, and green stripes. I look like an ugly Christmas tree is what it was. And then I had those by now these shorts were starting to shrink and get tight. And they were pretty tight around my little chubby legs. And they were probably only about 2 inches from the groin, and that's not a sight you want to see. Not a sight you want to see. Anyway, I climb up, and I don't have any shoes. They're underwater. And I'm barefoot. I'm standing there dripping on the side of this highway. And I thought, I'm sure someone's going to stop and help me. There I am, standing on the side of the road. And I'm barefoot, and it's about 100 degrees on the side of the road, and the gravel's hot. The cement road is hotter, and I'm dancing. And I'm dancing out of the road. And I go, I got to get some help. So I'm like this. And you know what? The trucks sped up and went faster. All the cars were going faster. I thought, what am I going to do? So I decided to take my kerchief. And I stood on the side of the road and I started swinging it around. You would think that I was a dancer from Las Vegas. Yes, sir. And I'm out there dancing, and all of a sudden, a car comes. Now, it's not like a normal car. It's the smallest, littlest, tiniest import from some European country that you've ever seen. It couldn't have been more than 8 foot long and 4 foot high. And I'm a big guy. And inside of this little car, it was red, pretty little red car. There was the tiniest little Asian lady you've ever seen. Little tiny thing, couldn't have weighed more than 70 pounds. And she rolled down the window and I said, hello. And I get real defensive when I'm in an awkward situation. I said, I'm a principal of a school. And I was principal of an elementary school. I said, I'm principal of a school. I'm a pastor. I was really proud of the fact that I was a pastor. I said, I'm a pastor. And I need help. Would you help me? And she said, yeah. Well, I thought she would call somebody or go and get some help. Instead, she said, well, why don't you get in the car? I said, you want me to try to get in this car? She goes, yes. So I put the seat as far back as I could. And in this tiny car, here's this guy weighing hundreds of pounds, gets in, and I'm like this, and my nose is about 2 inches from the mirror, and there's some little dancy thing on the chain there, some saint or some, I don't know what it was. But man, I tell you what, I was thankful for it. I don't care if it was Confucius, Buddha, or whatever it was. I was just thankful I had a ride. And you know what? I'm sitting there, and pretty soon, all of the water that's on me starts to fog up the windows. She cranks that thing, that little defrost on, didn't do much good. We're wiping the windows, trying to see down the road, and she finally drops me off, and then I get help. And finally, I managed to get back and get some help, and they towed my little boat back to the dock. I had some helpers with that. And finally, I get home. My wife says, well, how'd it go? I said, I had an adventure. Now, the last story. Yes, I did get one more boat. It was looked like a 1950s car. This was probably only about 10 years ago. I got a boat. It had fins on it. It was so pretty. And I told my boss, her name was Sohaila, nice little Persian lady, and her husband, Ramat. I said, would you like to go for a boat ride? They said, oh, sure, we would love to go for a boat ride. You got a boat? I said, yes, I do. And I had my wife. I convinced my wife to go with me. Matt was out of the picture. Forget boats with him. But I had my wife. I had Sohaila, and I had Ramat. She was my boss. Important lady. She was very important lady. Lived in a well, now it's probably about a $5 million house. But I had her in my little boat. It was a 12-footer. And I took her to this lake. And we were in the boat. And you got to understand that the lake that we went on, I'm not sure, I can't even remember the name of it now, but the boat, big boats in that lake would just make swells and waves that would just cause us to rock like this. But I made it a point to point the nose into the waves. But unfortunately, as we were in that lake in our little tiny little boat, and I'm having the time of my life with my boss and her husband, a big boat, must have been a 50-footer, went by, made the huge waves. Man, it started. I thought, ooh, I don't want this thing to flip. I pointed the nose into the waves. That bow went into the wave, went down deep, and waves came pouring over the nose of that boat and drenched my boss. She looked like a wet rat. And I'm saying, oh, are we having fun? She goes, yes, we're having a great time. Well, got her back. And shortly after that, I got rid of the boat. And I've made a determination that I'm not going to get another boat. At least right now. But I've been checking Marketplace on Facebook, and I think I found a good deal. I'm going to see if I can call Matt and have him come down and go for a boat ride. If you'd like a boat ride with Roger, just say so in the comments below. Well, thank you for listening. Y'all have a great day, and welcome down here to the South, where the crawdads sing.